Hey everyone, today I'm going to be showing you 10 tips for Procreate. These are very beginner tips, so if you already know your way around the program, you're probably already going to know these, but these tips can be really good if you've just gotten Procreate and you don't really know what to do. So let's get started. So there's a really quick way to make straight lines if you struggle with drawing them just as they are. If you draw your line and then hold it for a second, it will snap and become a straight line. This is really handy for line art, anything like that. It's very handy, and you can edit the shape and bring it in, big, whatever you like. This trick also works for other shapes. If you want to draw a circle, edit shape, turn it into a symmetrical circle. Otherwise, you can also do ellipses, which are just sort of your oval. You can turn it into a quadrilateral, rectangle, or square. And sometimes, depending on how the shape is actually drawn, it will only give you certain options. Like this one only gives me rectangle, square, polyline, or ellipses. There's no circle option. But yeah, so the app is pretty good at telling what you actually want to draw, but that's super handy if you're doing like stamps or anything that requires really nice, neat shapes. So the next tip is a little color trick. So say you're coloring in with one color and then you go, oh, maybe I want to make that a bit of a darker color, we'll just color over that. But you're like, crap, I really liked that other color, but damn, I can't remember exactly where it was. So you can just hold the little circle button up here and it will return to the previous color. It's super handy when you're just sort of bouncing back and forth, really helpful for shading and highlights and that sort of thing. Quite recently, Procreate added this really nifty little feature where you can actually add your own palettes into the palette selection thingy on the color wheels. So you go plus palette and then you can go from photos, and if you have a photo in here that you really like the colors of, you can just select it and it will pick the most prominent colors from that image. So this is just from a piece of art that I did a while ago. And you can see we've got all these really nice greens and browns and stuff, perfect for a foresty kind of background. So this next tip is going to show you how to control the selection power of the selection tool. Selection tool is just this little one up here. We're going to go to automatic and select the middle of the circle. You can see that there's this big gap in between, and that's not what you want. So if we filled that in with a color, you can see that there's a big gap where the paint has not actually come all the way over to the circle. So the way to fix that is when you go to your selection tool, press it, and then drag up, and you'll see there's a selection threshold at the top there. And you can drag it all the way up. If you go to 100%, it's going to obviously select the entire canvas, but often it'll depend on how good your line art is, but somewhere around 80 to 90 is always pretty good. And then if we select that and then put the color in, there's no gap between the line art and the paint. A little handy trick if you are left-handed or right-handed and you just want to fiddle around with your preferences, go into your little settings up here, click on preferences, and you can change the interface to the opposite side. So this is your brush size selection. Oops, we're an eraser. Brush size and opacity. So that's handy if you just want to change that around. I like to keep it on the right side. For this tip, I just have one of my recent pieces of art up in the canvas it was made, and I'm going to show you how you can view your time-lapse video. So basically you just want to go to settings and then come across to video, click on video, you can go time-lapse replay and it will show you how the drawing was made. And you can scroll along if you want to just see it a bit faster, which is nice. If you want this video, you just go to that same little bit, but you go export time-lapse video, and it will give you two options. You can either export it in full length, or you can export it as a 30-second condensed video. This next tip is going to show you how to use the symmetry tool. If you are drawing, say, a love heart, but you want it to look really symmetrical, oh no, that doesn't look very symmetrical, you can go into Canvas and then turn on the drawing guide and then edit drawing guide, and then down here just click on symmetry and it will put a nice little line through the middle. And now when you're drawing that love heart, you can make it perfectly even. Whoop, you can edit it a little bit and make it what you want. Yay, a nice little symmetrical love heart. And this works for any lines that you are going to draw. They will just replicate themselves on the other side of the canvas. You can also move this line around if you are drawing something sort of over here and you just want it to be over there. you'll get the symmetrical line over on that side. This next tip is just to show you that you can actually, in the same way that you can select a brush from your brush settings, whatever you want, you know, airbrushes or paint brushes or calligraphy or whatever it is. I generally just use this one for tutorial purposes. You can actually do the same with your eraser. You get the exact same amount of brushes, you can choose from all of them. So you can have an airbrush eraser, you can have a hatch brush, you can do whatever you like. It's the same brushes, and that is super handy if you're doing sort of really intricate erasing. You can also do the same with the smudge brush, which I'm going to show you how to use in a second. Again, you have all of the different options. A lot of these brushes I have downloaded and paid for separately, but all of the ones that Procreate comes with, you will have here, and you can use those as your smudge tool. So the smudge tool is super handy for creating really controlled gradients. Now I have my smudge tool pretty mostly set to a soft airbrush. I just find that works the best for me for smudging, and basically it will just drag we'll turn up the opacity a little bit, it will just drag the paint around. So if you drag it in from the outside, you'll get the white of the canvas, but if you just drag each color from itself, you will just drag it on either side. I generally do a little bit sort of with a higher opacity, and then I turn it down and sort of bring the colors a little bit more blended into each other. But this is really handy if you're doing really fine detailed shading, or you just really want to have more control over your gradients. Speaking of gradients, the way to do a gradient with everything that's on one layer, turning it into a gradient, is you click on this little sparkly wand brush up here, come down to Gaussian blur, and go layer, and then you just use your pen or your finger to adjust the gradient to what you want. So this is really good for making like quick backgrounds, like night skies or sunsets, and yeah, it's just super handy to just create a quick, nice little blur. So that's all the quick little tips I have for you guys today. I hope that this might have been slightly helpful for somebody who is just starting out on Procreate. If you have any other tips that you really like using this app, feel free to leave them in the comments below, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!